Every morning, before the royals even opened their eyes, maids were already on their knees, polishing silver until their hands blistered. Some were ordered to curtsy to empty rooms, bowing to the ghost of a royal who had already left. At Balmoral, tradition was sacred, even when it bruised knees and broke spirits. Vacuum cleaners? Forbidden. Queen Elizabeth hated the noise. Instead, young maids spent nearly an hour brushing a single hallway by hand, horsehair brushes scraping the carpets while dust thickened their aprons. One housekeeper admitted it added 9 hours of labor every day without a single extra penny in pay. Wrists swelled, backs ached, but complaints were dangerous. Talking was dangerous too. In the halls of Balmoral, silence meant survival. One maid recalled overhearing a private exchange between Prince Charles and Diana. The next morning, she was handed a written warning, her job hanging by a thread. A second slip would mean being fired on the spot, losing her year-end bonus. And so, the staff learned to act deaf. Some even developed a secret language of hand signals just to avoid the risk of speaking aloud. Life inside the castle was harsh. Attic bedrooms dropped to near freezing at night. Hot water ran for only half an hour each morning, and many were forced to share cramped quarters. Pay was meager, barely above minimum wage. A chambermaid could work 60 hours a week and still earn less than a gamekeeper. Some described it as giving your life to a shadow, with no one ever saying thank you. But Balmoral was more than a workplace. It was a fortress of secrets. For generations, the estate shielded the private lives of the royals. Queen Victoria's scandalous friendship with her servant John Brown blossomed here. Edward VIII practiced his abdication speech within its walls. And when Diana died in 1997, William and Harry were kept in the quiet seclusion of the castle, shielded from the outside world for hours. Not everything, however, could be kept hidden. In 1988, a young maid sold her story to a French magazine. For just a few weeks of work, she was paid nearly $10,000, more than she would have earned in years of service. She revealed dinners, private gestures, even which dogs slept near Princess Anne's room. Her words ignited tabloid frenzy, forcing the palace to tighten its secrecy rules. From then on, new workers were bound by lifelong agreements, forbidden from ever sharing what they saw. Still, small glimpses escaped. One touching story described a dinner guest who mistakenly drank from his finger bowl, confusing the rose-scented water for soup. Rather than embarrass him, Queen Elizabeth quietly lifted her own bowl, and the entire royal family followed. 17 bowls of rosewater were sipped that night just to protect one man's dignity. But for every tender moment, there were harsher truths. By the 1990s, turnover was high. Dozens of maids left, exhausted by long hours and low wages. Some were even fired after falling ill in the freezing dormitories. More recently, leaked payrolls showed staggering pay gaps. Senior aides earning 6 figures, while maids struggled to survive on less than $20,000 a year. Reviews posted online called the management toxic, and one by one, workers walked out. In August 2025, the cracks widened. On a stormy morning, Balmoral's gates were locked shut, not because of the weather, but because most of the room attendants had already quit. For the first time in decades, tourists were turned away. Only 2 housekeepers remained inside the castle walls. Balmoral may look like a fairy tale fortress sparkling against the Scottish hills, but for those who lived and worked in its shadows, it was a place where silence was demanded, loyalty was exploited, and secrets were currency. And perhaps the greatest irony, behind the grandeur of the monarchy, the people who kept the castle running, the ones polishing silver, stoking fires, and curtsying to empty rooms, were the ones that mattered least. Because inside Balmoral, every silence hides a story. If you want more untold stories from behind palace walls, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth about royalty is rarely what it seems.